all have heroes in show business.
Yeah.
One of your all-time heroes, I'm told, is Prince, and you got to meet him fairly recently. How did that go?
It was wonderful.
Hollywood has one unwritten rule. The bigger the smile, the darker the secret behind it. And if there was ever one person who perfectly embodied that rule, it was Ellen DeGeneres. Be kind to one another. That was not just a tagline, that was a brand. A carefully constructed image that entered every American home for nearly 2 decades. Every day, Ellen danced with her audience, hugged celebrities, gave away gifts, and presented herself to the world as the nicest human being alive. But what exactly was being hidden behind that smile? Katt Williams knew, and Katt Williams told the world. Today we are talking about the expose that practically erased Hollywood's biggest nice girl, and how one comedian saw it all coming before anyone else dared to say a single word. If you remember January 3rd, 2024, that was the day Hollywood genuinely shook. Comedian Katt Williams sat down with Shannon Sharpe on the podcast Club Shay Shay, and what followed was not just an interview, it was a prophecy. That conversation quickly amassed over 83 million views, and it opened with a line that stopped the entire entertainment industry cold. Katt Williams looked straight into the camera and said, "All these big deviants are catching hell in 2024. All lies will be exposed." The internet stopped, because this man was not joking. He was not performing. He was telling the truth, and everybody in Hollywood knew exactly who he was talking about. He went name by name: Kevin Hart, Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, Diddy. He pulled back the curtain on the side of Hollywood that nobody wanted to acknowledge publicly. That nearly 3-hour podcast was a perfect storm: comedy, truth, and fire, leaving the internet in absolute pieces. But here is what most people missed. Katt Williams held back. At the Vulture Festival months later, he admitted he had intentionally toned things down. His exact words, "I erased all of the knockout blows and just left the jabs." And by the end of 2024, Katt Williams was being called America's favorite prophet because everything he predicted came true. Every single thing. Now, where does Ellen DeGeneres fit into all of this? To understand that, you first have to understand what Ellen built, and then you have to understand what was secretly rotting underneath it. Ellen DeGeneres did not just host a talk show, she engineered a persona. From 2003, when The Ellen DeGeneres Show first aired, she positioned herself as the antidote to the ruthless, cutthroat world of Hollywood. At its peak, her show was pulling nearly 4.6 million viewers in a single week. She hosted the Oscars, she danced with presidents, she made people cry with her giveaways. The brand was simple: Ellen equals kindness, Ellen equals safety, Ellen equals warmth. Every dance at the top of every episode, every car she gave away, every celebrity she made laugh. It was all a carefully placed brick in a wall being built around her, designed to make her completely untouchable. Katt Williams had described this exact playbook before: how the industry builds monsters inside wholesome packaging, how the kindness is a product sold to the audience, while the workers behind the scenes are treated like they are completely disposable. Ellen DeGeneres was the textbook example, and for years, the machine protected her. Whenever an uncomfortable moment surfaced, whenever Ellen went too far in an interview, whenever a guest looked visibly upset on camera, the industry dismissed it. Oh, that's just Ellen being Ellen. The PR wall was airtight, until it wasn't. Before the backstage horror stories came out, there were warning signs hiding in plain sight, right there on television, for millions of people to watch. The first moment that the world eventually could not ignore involved Mariah Carey. In 2008, Mariah appeared on The Ellen DeGeneres Show. At the time, she was privately pregnant, and had not told a single person because she had suffered miscarriages before and simply was not ready to share that news publicly. Ellen knew the rumors were circulating, and Ellen decided to act on them, on live television. She handed Mariah a glass of champagne and said, "People are saying you're pregnant. There's rumors. Let's toast to you not being pregnant, if you're not pregnant." Mariah was visibly distressed. She looked around the studio, clearly panicking, and said, "I can't believe you did this to me, Ellen. This is peer pressure." The audience laughed. Ellen smiled. The show went on. What the audience did not know, what nobody on that set acknowledged, was that Mariah Carey was pregnant, and she suffered a miscarriage just weeks after that broadcast. She had tried to protect that pregnancy, and Ellen DeGeneres forced it out of her on national television. Years later, Mariah spoke about that moment publicly. She said she was extremely uncomfortable and that she had a hard time grappling with the aftermath. She said she wished Ellen had shown even a basic level of empathy. Then came Taylor Swift. In 2013, a 23-year-old Taylor Swift appeared on the show. Ellen was far more interested in Taylor's love life.
Been done. I thought that I had figured out the algorithm mathematically, and I thought that I could show that.
Than anything else. After repeatedly pushing her about a relationship with Zac Efron, which Taylor had denied multiple times, Ellen set up a game. On screen, without Taylor's consent. Taylor immediately protested. "I don't know if I'm gonna do this. This is the one thing I have. The one shred of dignity I have." Ellen kept going anyway. A slideshow of Taylor's rumored ex-boyfriends appeared on the screen behind her. Taylor begged her to stop. "I don't want to. They'll send me angry emails and I don't want that." Ellen rang the bell. Again and again. Until Taylor Swift, one of the biggest artists in the world, looked like she was on the verge of tears. Taylor's final words in that segment? "This makes me feel so bad about myself." Two massive stars. Two moments of public humiliation. Both dismissed as entertainment. Both now understood as something far more revealing about who Ellen DeGeneres truly was, behind the smile. On July 17, 2020, BuzzFeed News published an investigation that changed everything. They spoke to 11 current and former employees of the Ellen DeGeneres show. Every single one of them asked to remain anonymous because they were afraid of what would happen to them if they spoke openly. What they described was not a happy workplace. It was not a place of kindness. Employees said they were fired after taking medical leave, fired for attending family funerals. One employee who experienced racist comments from a senior producer essentially walked off the job. And perhaps most shocking of all, staff members were instructed by their managers not to speak to Ellen if they saw her around the office. Do not make eye contact. Do not acknowledge her. This was not a workplace. This was a court. And Ellen was a queen who did not want to be bothered by the people working for her.
I didn't mean it like that. I mean, married her because she was one. That's what he wanted, to base his family on.
She got a good heart, though. Say it. I'm gonna move the conversation.
If what I'm saying is not correct, then how do...
One former employee put it in the most direct terms possible. That be kind bullshit only happens when the cameras are on. It's all for show. But this was only the beginning. 2 weeks later, BuzzFeed published a second report, and this one was far darker. More than 10 accusations of sexual harassment and misconduct were made against executive producer and head writer Kevin Lehman. 5 allegations of inappropriate touching were made against executive producer Ed Glavin. And another producer was accused of attempting to perform a sexual act on a male staff member, with 3 separate colleagues confirming the story. Across all of the reporting, 47 former employees described the same executive as someone who led with intimidation and fear on a daily basis. 47 people, not a rumor, not a personal grudge. 47 human beings, describing the same environment, the same fear, the same silence. And then there was this one story, this one detail that, above everything else, tells you exactly what kind of culture was running behind those studio doors. One former employee took a month of medical leave to check into a mental health facility following a suicide attempt. The week they came back to work, they were told their position had been eliminated. This happened on the show of the woman who ended every episode by telling the world to be kind. When the BuzzFeed stories broke, Ellen had no choice but to respond. In a letter to her staff, she wrote, "On day 1 of our show, I told everyone that the Ellen DeGeneres show would be a place of happiness. No one would ever raise their voice. Everyone would be treated with respect. Obviously, something changed, and I am disappointed to learn that this has not been the case." She also went on air and addressed the public. "I know that I'm in a position of privilege and power. I realize that with that comes responsibility. and I take responsibility for what happens at my show. But then, and this is the part that revealed everything, she said something in her 2024 Netflix special that completely contradicted all of that. It looked like I was the boss. The show was called Ellen. Everybody was wearing t-shirts that said Ellen. There were buildings all over the Warner Brothers lot that said Ellen. But I don't think that meant I should be in charge. Read between the lines there. After nearly 2 decades of branding herself as the queen of her own empire, she suddenly had no idea what was happening inside it. The public did not buy it. The apology satisfied no one. The explanation insulted everyone's intelligence. And the cultural tide that had protected Ellen for 19 years had finally, completely turned against her. The consequences arrived fast. 3 executive producers were fired following the internal Warner Media investigation. Ratings dropped. Advertisers stepped back. In 2021, Ellen announced that season 19 would be the show's last. The Ellen DeGeneres show ended in May 2022, after 19 seasons, amid the wreckage of an internal investigation, multiple firings, and a level of public anger that her PR machine simply could not survive. Then in 2024, she attempted one final comeback, a Netflix special called For Your Approval, a farewell comedy tour. On stage, she acknowledged everything, with her signature deadpan delivery. I got chickens. Oh yeah. I got kicked out of show business. Yeah. The Be Kind girl wasn't kind. That was the headline. She even joked, had I ended my show by saying go fit yourselves, people would have been pleasantly surprised to find out I'm kind. But even that did not work. The comeback fell flat. Critics called it self-pitying. Audiences did not return. And so, Ellen DeGeneres and her wife Portia de Rossi packed their bags, sold their California properties, and moved to the Cotswolds in England. The woman who once ruled Hollywood, who danced with presidents, handed out cars, and told the world to be kind every single day, left the country quietly, retired, out of the spotlight, by her own admission, done. Now here's the part that makes this entire story truly remarkable. Katt Williams, a man that Hollywood spent years trying to dismiss as unstable, unreliable, and irrelevant, turned out to be the only person brave enough to describe exactly how this system works. While Ellen was still protected by her PR machine, while the industry was still calling her the Queen of Nice, Katt Williams was already explaining the blueprint. How Hollywood constructs wholesome images around people who are anything but wholesome. How NDAs, fear, and media control keep the truth buried for decades. How the machine picks its monsters carefully, dresses them in pastel suits, gives them a catchphrase about kindness, and lets them run. He described in precise terms the exact mechanism that kept Ellen's toxic empire running for 19 years, while dozens of people suffered in silence behind those studio walls. And by the end of 2024, as observers noted, everything Katt Williams said had come true. Everything. This is why the title of this video says, "This name was almost erased." Because that is exactly what happened. Ellen DeGeneres, a name that was once synonymous with American daytime television, with positivity, with kindness, with warmth, erased, no longer on television, no longer in Hollywood. Living quietly in the English countryside, retired, largely forgotten, and by her own words, done. The woman who told millions of people every day to be kind to one another was canceled precisely because she was not kind. Not to her staff, not to her guests, not to the truth. Hollywood is a machine, and that machine is very, very good at protecting its own, until it isn't. Ellen DeGeneres lasted 19 years because the machine worked perfectly. The dancing, the giveaways, the be kind mantra, it was all armor, and for 2 decades, that armor held. But Katt Williams understood something that most people in entertainment refuse to say out loud. The truth always finds a way. You can build the biggest PR wall in the world, but if what is behind it is rotten, eventually the wall comes down, and it did. Katt Williams said it himself on January 3, 2024, "All lies will be exposed." He was right about Diddy. He was right about the industry. And whether he named her directly or not, the Ellen DeGeneres story proves he was right about the entire system. The name was almost erased, and the man who saw it coming was the one nobody in Hollywood wanted to listen to. If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Did you ever believe that the Be Kind brand was real? Or did you always know something was off?